Not every betrayal leaves a scar you can see. Some weave themselves silently into the fabric of your life, until one day you awaken and realize you have vanished from your own story. There are moments, soft as a whisper, swift as a breath, where we trade pieces of ourselves away without even knowing. Not for gold, not for glory, but for the faint, flickering hope of being loved. Carl Jung taught that our lives are not merely shaped by what we choose consciously, but by what moves in the depths below awareness, by the invisible contracts we sign with the world long before we understand their cost. There are people who will not ask for your truth, they will ask for your compliance. There are souls who will not seek your light, they will seek your surrender. And it is often in the name of love, duty, or loyalty that we betray the most sacred thing we carry, the untouched wholeness of our own soul. In this sacred reflection, we will explore, avoid people who ask these 5 things from you, and uncover the hidden forces that lure us away from the center of who we truly are. Before we begin, I invite you to anchor yourself with a vow. Comment below the words, "I choose to remain true to my soul." Let these words be the first stone on the path home. Now, let us journey inward together. Gentle breath, slow transition. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But that privilege demands something fierce and tender of us, the courage to remember what we once promised ourselves, and to never abandon that vow, no matter who asks it of us. Before we can ever speak of what others demand from us, we must first listen to a deeper voice, the one that spoke before the world taught us to be afraid." There is an ancient vow woven into the soul of every being, a silent covenant that says, "I will not forsake the truth of who I am." It is not written in language, it is not bound by time. It lives in the first cry of the newborn, it lives in the quiet knowing behind a child's eyes. It lives in the unexplainable ache you feel when you sense you have drifted far from yourself. But how easily, how subtly we forget. In the soft ache for belonging, we bend. In the cold hunger for approval, we shrink. In the desperate hope to be seen, we allow ourselves to be sculpted by hands that do not know the shape of our soul. There are moments when the unconscious tries to awaken us, dreams where we are trapped in endless mazes. A sudden, unexplainable sorrow at the sound of someone's voice. The weight in the chest when we say yes, but everything inside us screams no. The earth remembers even when we forget. Imagine yourself standing alone in a vast mist-veiled forest, the moss damp beneath your feet, the scent of rain in the air, the trees, ancient witnesses, breathing with you, whispering, "You were never meant to betray yourself for anyone." This is the heart of Jung's process of individuation, not the pursuit of perfection, but the sacred remembering of the wholeness that was always yours. The self that sings through your instincts, your longings, your deepest dreams. When you abandon this self even a little, the soul does not rage, it does not punish, it waits. It waits with a patience older than time itself. It waits for the day you will come back. Every time we say yes to another's expectations while saying no to our soul, a thread weakens. Every time we silence the body's wisdom, the tightness in the chest, the ache behind the eyes, the restlessness in dreams, the roots grow weary. But the beauty is this: the covenant is never broken beyond repair. The soul does not forget. The sacred contract still waits beneath the debris of forgotten years, ready to be reclaimed. As we move deeper into this reflection, exploring the 5 silent demands that steal us from ourselves, let us walk with the fierce tenderness of one who is coming home. Home to the voice that was never lost, home to the self that has always been waiting. There are requests so subtle, so woven into the ordinary gestures of life that we barely notice them until the soul begins to ache from their weight. The first and perhaps most dangerous is this: become who I need you to be, not who you are. It rarely sounds like a command. It often comes dressed in affection, in admiration, even in praise. But beneath the surface, it hums with an ancient, invisible force, the pressure to shapeshift, to mold our being into a mirror that reflects someone else's longing. Carl Jung spoke of the persona, the mask we create to navigate the world. At first, the mask is light, almost playful, a necessary costume for the theater of human connection. But when we allow others to craft it for us, when we let their unconscious expectations dictate its shape, it hardens. It fuses to the skin. It becomes a prison. You may recognize the signs, the slight tremble in your voice when speaking your truth, the way your breath catches, shallow and fast, when you sense disapproval, the invisible tightening of your chest when you laugh at something that doesn't touch your soul. It is not a violent betrayal at first. It is slow, it is tender. It is 1,000 tiny silences where your real self is swallowed just to keep the peace, just to maintain the image. Behind these demands often lurks a shadow, not your own but theirs. They do not see you. They see the dream of who they wish you could be. They see the balm for their own wounds, the echo of their unlived life, the embodiment of the traits they have long abandoned. And in loving their projection, they unknowingly ask you to vanish. To refuse this, to remain grounded in the rough, raw, radiant truth of your being is not cruelty. It is the first act of sacred rebellion. It is the first act of real love, both for yourself and paradoxically for them. Because no true relationship can be built upon the ashes of a self-denied. Imagine standing barefoot at the edge of a vast river. The current calls to you, strong and insistent, urging you to lose yourself in its endless flow. But deeper still, beneath the roar, you hear another voice, your own heartbeat, your own name spoken by the winds, the memory of who you were before you were asked to become something else. It is this memory, this sacred tether to your authentic self that must not be surrendered. When you feel the pressure to conform, when you notice the subtle tightening of spirit, pause, listen, breathe, return. Refusing to be reshaped is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of honoring the life that was entrusted to you alone. As we continue this sacred reflection, remember, to betray your own soul for the comfort of another is a wound that time cannot heal. But to stand in the truth of who you are, even when others plead for a mask, that is the beginning of emotional liberation. And liberation, though it may first taste of loneliness, always leads to love. Real love, the kind that does not ask you to vanish. In the quiet, unspoken spaces between two souls, there often lies an invisible plea, a request not voiced aloud yet felt, deeply, achingly, relentlessly. Become my ideal. This is the first sacred test, the first crossroads where the soul must choose between belonging and being. And far too often, out of love, out of hope, out of fear, we yield. At first it is so tender we hardly notice it happening. A slight bending of the truth here, a gentle smoothing of our edges there, a smile held a little too long, a truth swallowed because it trembled too fiercely in our chest. Carl Jung spoke of the persona, the mask we wear to meet the world. It is not in itself a lie. It is the way we adapt, survive, and connect. But when that mask is no longer our creation, when it is shaped by another's longing, it becomes a prison without visible walls. We begin to feel it, not in our mind, but in our body. The voice that quivers before it dares to speak. The heartbeat that stutters when a secret self tries to rise. The breath that catches like a trapped bird whenever we sense that who we truly are may disappoint. The soul does not scream in protest at first. It whispers softly, patiently. Through the dreams that unsettle us at dawn, through the numbness that creeps into once vivid joy, through the subtle exhaustion of living always half true. And often it is not malice that calls us to betray ourselves. It is projection, that ancient force by which the other sees in us not who we are, but what they have lost or never dared to claim. They do not mean to erase us. They are searching for something, and without knowing it, they ask us to carry it for them. But there is a cost to becoming another's dream. Each time we bend, we lose a thread of our own tapestry. Each time we silence ourselves, we drift further from the sacred covenant made at the beginning of our life, the vow to live as who we truly are, not as a mirror for another's emptiness. It is not easy to resist this first request. It can feel like turning away from love itself. It can feel like abandonment, rejection, even cruelty. But it is none of these. It is a deeper love, a fiercer loyalty, a sacred boundary drawn not out of anger, but out of reverence for your own soul and for theirs. For to accept their unconscious demand is to betray not only yourself, but them as well. It is to build intimacy on illusion. It is to sever the chance for real meeting, real knowing, real union. Picture yourself standing alone in a misted forest at twilight. The path ahead splits in two. One road beckons with the warm lights of acceptance, the easy smiles, the safe applause. The other winds deeper into the unknown, into solitude, into the fierce, silent glow of authenticity. You know which path the soul was born to walk. And though it may be lonelier at first, though the night may press close around you, the stars, the true stars, will only reveal themselves when you dare to stand alone. So when the request comes, and it always comes, be who I want you to be. May you pause, may you breathe, and may you remember, you were not made to be someone else's reflection. You were made to shine with the light only you can carry. Not all burdens we carry are our own. There is a second, quieter request that slips beneath the surface of relationships. It is less visible than the first, yet no less heavy. A silent cry woven into glances, into gestures, into the very spaces between words. Carry what I cannot bear. It begins so tenderly. Perhaps you see their sadness before they do. Perhaps you feel their anger, their fear, their loneliness pressing against the edges of your own heart. Out of love, or out of an old, unconscious loyalty to suffering, you reach out. You lift what was never yours to lift. And in doing so, a sacred boundary dissolves. Carl Jung taught that the shadow, all that is wounded, denied, unloved within us, seeks expression. When one cannot face their own shadow, they often project it outward, searching for an unwitting carrier. Not to punish, but to survive. In the realm of the soul, this is not spoken aloud. It is felt. It is the sudden heaviness in your chest after an innocent conversation, the weight behind your eyes that no amount of sleep can lift. The invisible chain that tugs at your spirit, pulling you downward into a sorrow that has no clear name. You begin to notice it in the body first, the tiredness that seems to have no cause, the sadness that leaks into your mornings like a cold mist, the feeling of being submerged in an ocean that does not belong to you. This is the emotional signature of enmeshment, a sacred soul that has blurred its edges, a heart that beats not only with its own grief but with the grief of another, carried, absorbed, mistaken for its own. Through sacred eyes we can see that this is not cruelty, it is a survival pattern, a way the wounded ask without words, hold this for me, because I cannot. But love, true love, is not the absorption of another's pain. It is the refusal to drown with them. It is the courage to hold space without becoming space. It is the sacred skill of compassionate boundaries, of saying with the deepest tenderness, I see your sorrow, but I cannot wear it as my own. Imagine your soul as a flame, small, fierce, holy. Each time you absorb another's unhealed pain, it dims just slightly, not out of cruelty but out of confusion, until one day you no longer recognize your own heat, your own light. To awaken is to feel the moment when the sorrow pressing upon you is not yours. It is to trust the body's whispered wisdom. It is to recognize the fatigue that says, this weight was never meant for you. And in that sacred recognition you are called to a new kind of love, a love that stands firm, a love that sees and honors the other's pain without being devoured by it. You can offer your presence without offering your essence. You can walk beside without carrying upon your back. In the end, the soul thrives not by carrying more than it was meant to, but by carrying itself, fully, fiercely, without apology. When the silent plea comes, and it will, carry my pain for me, may you feel the stirring in your own chest. May you hear the whisper of your own soul saying, no, beloved, I will walk with you, I will love you, but I will not lose myself for you. And in doing so, you set both souls free. There is a softer kind of death, one that does not come with a scream but with a sigh, a life set down quietly in the name of love. This is the third unspoken request that haunts the fragile corners of our connections. Abandon your sacred dreams so I may feel safe. It begins not with cruelty but with fear, a fear that if you soar too high you will leave, a fear that if you become all that you are called to be, the delicate thread that binds you to another heart will snap under the strain. And so, little by little, the dreamer dims their light. They silence the restless song in their chest. They bow not to destiny, but to comfort. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the fierce and holy process of becoming fully oneself, even when the tides of the world beg us to remain small. He knew that the soul has its own blueprint, its own wild hunger. To betray that hunger is to wither from the inside out. There are signs if we listen closely, the subtle ache behind the ribs when we pretend not to want more, the heaviness in the mornings when the heart cannot remember why it rises, the bittersweet dreams that visit us at night, whispering of paths untaken, landscapes unseen, songs unsung. Have you felt it? The strange mourning for a life unlived, as if some part of you is standing at a distant shore, waving, waiting for you to return. This is the cost of trading destiny for approval. It is an invisible wound, a grief so deep it has no language. Yet, and this must be said with reverence, those who ask us to stay small are not our enemies. They are often souls battling their own forgotten dreams, terrified of being left behind in a world that demands evolution. Still, to abandon your sacred calling for another's comfort is to abandon the very reason you were given breath. True love, the love that nourishes the spirit, does not fear your becoming. It does not shrink from your fire. It does not beg you to bury your gifts so that the ground between you remains undisturbed. Real love stands at the edge of your vastness and says, go, grow, become. I will find joy in your flight, even if I must learn to stretch my own wings to keep up. If you have silenced your dreams, beloved, know that it is never too late to remember. The ache behind your ribs is not a sign of failure. It is the drumbeat of your soul calling you home. The dreams that visit you in the night are not taunts. They are invitations. This section is a prayer for all who have laid down their sacred tasks to protect the comfort of others, for all who have wept in secret over the dreams they dared not live. May you find the courage to pick up your myth again. May you dare to believe that your becoming is not a betrayal, but the greatest act of love you can offer this world. Your soul did not come here to apologize for its fire. It came to burn, brightly, fiercely, beautifully, and to illuminate the path for those brave enough to follow. There are wounds that bleed silently beneath the surface, not because they are shallow, but because the soul has been taught again and again, hide your pain, hide your becoming. These two final requests arrive not with swords, but with silken chains, invisible to the eyes, yet heavy across the heart. Do not speak of your suffering, they say, and do not grow beyond what makes me feel safe. At first they sound like love. At first they sound like belonging. But listen closer, and you will hear the quiet breaking of the soul beneath them. Carl Jung once spoke of the collective unconscious, the vast unseen web of ancestral memory and wounding that moves through us all. It is here in these unseen fields that entire families, cultures, and lineages weave patterns of silence and suppression. We do not speak of our pain, the lineage whispers. We endure, we pretend. We carry the unhealed sorrow forward, like sacred objects we are too afraid to lay down. And so, generation after generation, the chain remains unbroken, until one soul, perhaps you, hears a deeper call. At first, the signs are subtle, a tightening in the throat when truth longs to rise, a quickening heartbeat when you dare to dream beyond what has been allowed, a deep sorrow, as if the seeds of your destiny still sleep, yearning for the light. You feel the tension, don't you? The aching contradiction of wanting to honor those you love, yet knowing that to remain silent, small, and unseen is to betray the sacredness of your own life. There is a moment, a holy, trembling moment, when sacred rage rises, not a rage that destroys, but a rage that remembers. It is the shuddering recognition that you were never meant to be a vessel for other people's fears. You were never meant to dim your light for their comfort. You were born to speak, to heal, to become. This is where the archetypal warrior and healer awaken within you. The warrior stands with trembling legs but an unshakable heart, saying, "No more, the silence ends with me." The healer places gentle hands over ancient wounds, whispering, "You are allowed to hurt, you are allowed to grow, you are allowed to shine." Breaking these ancient contracts is not an act of betrayal. It is an act of sacred devotion to yourself, to your lineage, and to all those who will come after you. To speak your pain is to plant seeds of freedom. To stretch beyond the boundaries placed around your soul is to clear new ground for dreams yet unborn. Yes, it will feel terrifying. The old chains are heavy with generations of fear. But listen, already your heartbeat is quickening with a different kind of rhythm. Already your spirit leans toward the sun. You are not here to stay small. You are not here to swallow your sorrow and call it love. You are here to remember your full size, your sacred right to feel, your sacred right to grow. If the ground trembles beneath you, it is only because you were meant to move mountains. So stand, beloved soul. Stand even if your voice shakes. Stand even if your hands tremble. The world needs the full breadth of your becoming. And when you speak, even in whispers, the old chains begin to fall away one by one. And now, dear soul, we arrive together at the threshold. The long walk through silence, sacrifice, and soul-forgetting has brought you here, to a doorway carved not by others, but by the slow, patient work of your own becoming. Pause here for a moment. Feel the earth beneath your feet, steady and ancient. Feel the breath moving through your chest, faithful and alive. Listen, beyond the noise of the world, beyond the echoes of old expectations, there is a sound, a whisper, a calling. Come home, it says. Come home to yourself. Carl Jung spoke often of this sacred covenant. To live is not simply to survive. It is to carry the trembling, luminous responsibility of becoming who you were meant to be. Not who the world demanded, not who fear sculpted, not even who love, confused and frightened, asked you to become, but the one you have always been. Beneath the armor, beneath the silence, beneath the smallness you once wore like a second skin. To heal is not to erase your wounds. It is not to transcend your humanness or to ascend into a place where sorrow and longing no longer touch you. No. Healing is to gather all your lost pieces close, to hold them tenderly in your arms and to say, "You too are part of my wholeness." The shadow once feared becomes a doorway. The rejected dreams once silenced become songs sung in the twilight. The wounded child, the untamed wanderer, the aching heart, all are welcomed back into the great house of the soul. Wholeness is not perfection. Wholeness is a weaving together, messy, magnificent, holy. Look now. See yourself standing at the edge of your old life, the ghosts of past betrayals at your back, the glimmer of a vast new sky ahead. You are not empty. You are full of stories, full of strength, full of sacred knowing. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not cruel for walking toward your truth. You are sacred. Your existence is sacred. Your dreams are sacred. Every step you take toward yourself sends ripples through the unseen realms, healing not only your life but the lives of those who come after you. And so, beloved soul, take this moment to remember. You are allowed to speak your pain. You are allowed to outgrow the smallness placed upon you. You are allowed to dream wide and wild. You are allowed to heal in ways your ancestors could not imagine. You are allowed, you are invited to come home to yourself. May you walk forward with reverence. May you carry your light, fierce and tender, into the dark places. May you trust that becoming who you truly are is the holiest offering you could ever make. If these words stirred something within you, if somewhere deep inside you hear the whisper calling you home, I invite you to affirm it aloud or in the comments below. I choose my soul's light. Your voice matters. Your becoming matters. You are the living prayer the world has been waiting for.